Welcome to the Black Script Storytellers. My name is Kevin Marable, and today our guest is a writer, director, and producer. She's either written, directed, or produced many acclaimed films and TV shows, such as Woman Thou Art Loosed, all the way to popular shows such as Chicago PD, All American, and Bel Air. Her current film, Albany Road, comes out this Friday and stars Lynn Whitfield, Renee Elise Goldsberry, and J. Alphonse Nicholson. Christine Swanson is with us. Christine, thank you so much for joining.
Glad to be here.
Yes. So, Christine, with every interview that I do, I start off with a very simple question, and some might find it a little difficult to answer. Are you ready?
Uh-huh.
That question is, who is Christine Swanson?
Wow. Well, I always like to go back to my roots. Um I'm from Detroit, but before I got to Detroit, I lived in Korea for 6 years. My
Wow.
mother's Korean, my dad's black. He was in the military, and that's where they met. And I moved
Okay.
to America when I was 6, and
Wow.
then I moved to Detroit when I was 8. And I call myself, I'm 6 years Korean, but I'm all the way black.
Okay. I like that. Okay. That's
Yes.
cool. It's always good to get to know who you are as a person and
Mm-hmm.
your origin. But on top of all of that, you are a writer, director, and producer.
Mm-hmm.
What drew you in to tell stories, and at what age did you know that this is what you wanted to do?
Well, I actually loved going to movies as a kid, like we all did.
Mm.
Um, it wasn't until I was a freshman at the University of Notre Dame. I actually was a finance major because I didn't, not because I liked it, but I thought, oh, this is what you major in if you want to get a job.
Right.
And I didn't know that there were other things open to me until Spike Lee came to our campus to talk about Do the Right Thing. And I
Mhm.
thought, wow, people make movies for a living? And he so inspired me, I promptly changed my major to
Wow.
film production. And then I did research and found out he went to NYU Film School. So when
Right.
I finished Notre Dame, I applied to NYU Film School, and Spike Lee was my directing teacher. So it was kind of like a very fortuitous, serendipitous thing, but I felt
Right.
like I was on the right track. And I loved every second of studying filmmaking and telling stories and how to use tools and craft combined with a modicum of talent to try to create movies that actually connect with people.
Mhm. Now, did you at that time, did you see yourself as a creative, or is this something that you felt like you grew into?
So,
How did you know that even though you were influenced to change your major and you
yeah.
also go through, how did you know that this is the path that you should be taking?
Yeah, I didn't know until I jumped into the deep end of the pool. I just
Right.
knew that I really enjoyed watching movies. And when I figured out that it was a job path that was real,
Hmm.
I just chose to do it.
Hmm.
I didn't know anything.
Right.
I just chose it. I can't even say that I had an innate talent, or I definitely had no exposure and I
Hmm.
had no experience. But it was something I wanted to try. And
Hmm.
then when I tried it, it was really an issue because when I first started out, I would say everything that I put out was horrible, you know? And yet I was intrigued by this art form in a way where I'm like, I want to figure this out. I want to figure this out. And the more I stayed in it, and going to film school really affords you an opportunity to fail safely.
Hmm. It does.
So I tried some things, I succeeded at some things, I failed at others, but the practice of doing that is really what put me in line to call myself a filmmaker. And
Wow.
then after I started to hone the craft even more and started making stories that people actually liked or connected with, and I used a level of specificity as to how I went about telling stories, then I started to feel like, oh, I'm an artist. I'm an
Okay.
artist because the things that lie deep in my belly, that yearn to come out, I felt like was just part of my calling.
Hmm.
And then sometimes when your calling answers back with uh, success, maybe accolades and validation, which we don't do things for validation, but sometimes you do get validated in terms of what you do and how people respond, or even you do something and you actually can make a living doing it. And it's like, oh, I am this. And
Hmm.
then now the rest of the path is about how can I be a better this now that I know what it is. So no, it's not like I always knew, like, because you see a lot of people, like I see third graders, like, oh, I'm a filmmaker, and I'm like, yeah, but it's a long game, and slow and steady wins the race, as opposed to I've seen the kids who were like hot shots in film school and they kind
Yes.
of teeter out by the time they finish film school because it's a long game and they kind of peaked in film school, whereas I think it's almost a lifelong kind of journey in terms of understanding craft and understanding your voice
Right.
and then trying things to articulate your voice and sometimes missing the mark and sometimes hitting the mark and understanding, oh, I can do this and it works. Let me do more of this. So to me, it's taken half of a lifetime to figure out like, oh, I'm a filmmaker.
Yeah.
And then the
Yeah.
rest is, go do it. And then
Do,
it's really validated when you can do it and actually make money doing it as well. Otherwise, as people say, if you ain't making money doing it, it's a hobby.
right.
And I did not want this to be a hobby because I love investing in it, and I wanted to make sure that it was my investment was for
Worthwhile.
not.
Absolutely. Now, do you think some of those students who you said that teeter out by the time they get to the end, um, do you think that a part of that is not necessarily they fall out of love with it, but maybe they didn't have as much passion to see it through, or do you think it's something else?
It's not about having enough passion because there's so many variables to this that you don't control. So
Okay.
you could be the most passionate in the world and you could make great content. If you have no means of allowing people to see it, it's a hobby.
Mm,
So and a lot of things are out of your control. So your passion has to expand beyond your ability to make something.
right.
It has to bleed into um, the means at which people can see what you made
Hmm.
too. So that's what it's about. Like talent, I mean, it's not a meritocracy.
Hmm.
So talent is helpful, but so is good business skills, so is good communication skills, so is networking, so is establishing relationships. Like there's so much more to this than just being a good artist you know
Right. 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 Okay. Now, you're known for many acclaimed films such as Woman Thou Art Loosed, in which you were the writer, Love Under New Management, The Mickey Howard Story as a director, The Clark Sisters, First Ladies of Gospel as a director, Kimba as a writer. You've also directed a lot of shows as well. I'm just going
hmm
to touch on a few of them: Chicago PD, FBI, MacGyver, P Valley, All American Homecoming, Found, Bel Air. My question is, how did you find yourself at the center of working on so many amazing projects?
it's kind of you grow in steps, and
Hmm.
then after a while you look back and you're like, oh, I've done this much stuff. And then it's
Right.
like you don't think about it. It's no longer like you don't see the steps because uh it's like you don't see the waves
Mm.
because you're riding it. You know what I'm
Wow.
saying? Like if you're a surfer, like I'm riding the waves. So I'm not in the distance looking at waves. I'm in it. So
Right.
if that's the case, you're busy just riding it and you're not thinking about like, do you see it? Or how do I get there?
Hmm.
So the path to get here was long and arduous and um sometimes like painstaking,
Mm,
but at the same time, like I'm like wired for. I'm a warrior, so it's like if it was easy, it would be boring for me.
right.
So, um, just all those steps, I learned so much.
Yeah.
Seriously, I learn on every TV set I work on. Like, I think I add a lot, but sometimes I
Hmm.
learn a lot. And it's
Hmm.
really like, what skills do I need at this time and for whom? I love it. I love like reaching into the well and figuring out like, oh, I'm gonna use this color. I'm gonna use this texture. So that's
Hmm.
when like you get to really explore the art of it. But even to get there, it's a lot of political hurdles, a lot of you know, there's a lot of diversity programs, but
Hmm.
there's no guarantee that you'll have a career or a job. So it's just pounding the pavement until the right doors open, and then going through the doors and learning the things that you need to learn to be prepared for the next step, and then
Hmm.
getting to the next step and understanding like, okay, I can paint with the tools that I have, but when I'm doing television shows, I'm there in service to the showrunner and her vision.
Hmm.
When I do movies and I'm the writer director, that's my vision. So you
Right.
have to understand like where you are and whose vision you're trying to articulate. But all of it across the board, you try to do it with excellence, and you
Hmm.
want to make sure that you leave people happy with the written work that they've done that you've articulated cinematically.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, many of your projects have received prestigious nominations and awards, like the
Hmm.
NAACP Image Awards. What impact do you feel these recognitions have on your career, and how do these influence your future projects, or do they not? You don't think about it?
None, none,
Okay.
none. And I say this like I'm like 50 something years old, and like that's at this age, if you're doing it for that,
Mhm.
then you're off base. For me, if I did it for that, I would feel off.
Mm.
Um, you can't think like that because it really could disrupt the flow of what the goal is. And the
Right.
goal is not to win awards. The goal is to tell great stories that audiences connect with. And if you happen to get nominated or win awards, I think it's great, but that's not the goal. In fact, I'm looking at a whole system that's designed on awards and campaigns for awards, and it's a lot of it is so arbitrary,
Mhm.
and people feel obligated to do it because they feel like that trophy would add value to the work that you've already done. And I'm like, I have to feel good about the work that I've already done,
Yes.
and first and foremost. And if other people recognize it, great, but I don't do it for their approval.
Hmm.
So it's a conundrum. It's like a catch-22. The more awards you win, maybe you think you have more opportunities, and you more opportunities you have, maybe you can get a shot at trying to win awards. I don't know, but I think that should never be the goal. I think the goal
Right.
is to service the story. The story is the star.
The story is the
Story's the
star.
star. So we're gonna uphold stories in a way that we start to value really what the story is, and not sometimes who the storyteller is. And
Hmm.
then when the stories are bad, we always give that storyteller a pass, and they're now making another movie and another movie, and they're all consistently like mediocre. It's like, what are we doing
Right.
here?
Right.
So I think there are goals to establish, but winning awards is not at the top of mine. Now, having
Okay.
said that, I've won a lot of awards, and I
Right.
can show you a showcase where they're just sitting there collecting dust. It means nothing. I mean, it's great, I suppose, because there's recognition for the work that you've done, but we
Hmm.
don't do it for that. If we happen to win it, that's great. Somebody connected.
Hmm.
Somebody connected in a way that they're demonstrating. I'll take that, but I don't lose no sleep over it.
Okay. That's fair enough. Fair enough. You've directed a new film called Albany Road, which stars the legendary Lynn Whitfield, Renee Elise Goldsberry, and J. Alphonse Nicholson. Can you tell us a little bit about what the film is about?
So it's an intergenerational road trip movie.
Mm.
Think Thelma and Louise meets Terms of Endearment meets Fargo. And it has
Okay.
all those elements in it. They're driving through a friggin' snowstorm. Two women who hate each other, and they have to share the last rental car left in the airport. And they have to drive from New York to DC. And as the weather gets worse, they have to stop off at a bed and breakfast. And who shows up? All kinds of people that they didn't plan to see, and then all heck breaks loose in the span of 24 hours. So it's truly a comedy, but it's also, it has layers and depths of feelings of catharsis that nobody expects. So that
Yeah.
people leave like really having made a connection to their own hearts, their own mortality, and their own God,
Mm.
and you know, people are having experiences with this movie.
Yeah. Now I see you smiling as you're describing it all.
Hmm.
I take it that you had an amazing experience directing it, and just kind of walk us through a little bit of what that was like on the other side of the camera.
Well, listen. So we shot this in 23 days, mostly in Champaign, Illinois, in the freezing winter cold. Like it was in February of 2023, right before the industry took a strike,
Yeah.
and it felt like a really hard shoot. But I look back on it, and I'm telling, I miss shooting. Like Lynn Whitfield will be looking at me like, "Girl, you look so cold out there. I don't know how you do it." And I'm like, "I didn't feel no cold. I just saw joy." And I feel
Right.
like that's what this story in the end, it exemplifies joy. And I'm like, look at the times that we're in, and it
Mm.
feels like it's coming out at the right time as a holiday movie that has a lot to share with people all ages, all background, and they will walk away having encountered something that they never expected to feel.
Mhm, mhm. And what was it like working with, you mentioned Lynn Whitfield, but also Renee Goldsberry, and J. Alphonse Nicholson?
Nicholson. So these guys are like, it's almost like everybody put on a clinic, but when they
Mhm.
all work together, it was like a basketball clinic of like elites. And the way they played off each other and the energy that they brought to and that created these dynamics with such nuance, it was
Mhm.
so much fun. And to watch, like Renee Goldsberry starred in my first feature film called All About You 25 years ago.
Right.
And this is now our second feature film together, and Renee's only second leading role in a movie. So I
Wow.
cast her both times as the lead because she's truly one of the best actresses I've ever worked with.
Yeah.
And so much fun, so much energy, so much light, and
Mhm.
like just, she's really one of my favorites to watch. And then to put her in a Kia Soul car that they have to share with Lynn Whitfield, and how their characters just kind of hate each other. I mean,
Mhm.
it's I mean, it's a perfect scenario as a
Yeah.
director to
Yeah.
just be in that situation to direct
They
two
create
great
magic.
actors. And then
Yeah.
J. Alphonse Nicholson, I directed him in P Valley, and I knew
Okay.
right away. I'm like, dude, you're a rock star. I'm gonna put you in a
Yeah.
movie. And he was
Right.
like, bet, bet. And that's how I put him in my movie.
Wow.
Lisa Arundel,
Uh,
who actually was in a movie with Lynn Whitfield before. So they get a redo to do something like this together. And it's fabulous watching them work. And then we rounded out with Gary Dordan, Joe
yes.
Holt, and Rachel Nix. I'm telling you, Rachel Nix is a Juilliard grad. Like
Mm.
I'm telling you, this is like an all-star game of acting elites. Seriously.
I can't wait to watch it. I checked out the trailer. Everything looks great, looks fantastic. I'm excited to watch it and see how everything unfolds for sure, especially now that I know a little bit more from what you've told me. Should be awesome. And for those who are listening and watching, it comes out this Friday in theaters, and also when is it coming to? Is it long-term theater run, or
Yeah,
is
yeah,
it?
it's in mostly AMC theaters across the country. Are you located in what city?
I'm in Virginia, Woodbridge. So
Yeah,
I'm Prince William
I
County.
that's right. So just look up on AMC theaters and put in
Okay.
your zip code and they'll tell you where it's playing. But it's worth it to watch it in theaters and take a bunch of your friends and family members because you'll have a
Absolutely.
communal experience. Remember when we went to theaters and had that communal experience before COVID? Like,
Yes.
bring that back. And this is a perfect holiday movie. It's like a Christmas movie that's a
Mhm.
little bit like low key, but it's very much a holiday movie. So this is
Mhm.
a. I used to go see movies right after Thanksgiving dinner. We'd be like, okay, what are you gonna
Right.
see tonight? This is that movie. Don't see
Okay.
nothing else. Don't see Gladiators. Don't see. Go see this movie after Thanksgiving with your relatives. You will
Right.
not regret it.
Good family friendly movie to watch right after Thanksgiving. Perfect.
Yes.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
Um, in a recent video, I saw that Jamie Foxx giving you praise for your work in this film. How
Hmm.
does it feel to receive such praise from your peers, or does that not matter at all either?
Well,
I know,
again,
and I have some of these questions that were pre-written, but
right,
I
right,
felt
right.
so obligated to still ask him.
Well, Jamie's such a gracious artist, and like he really fell in love with Clark sisters. So that video, he actually is talking about Clark sisters, but
Okay.
ironically, is applicable to Albany Road. And he
Mhm.
loved Clark sisters so much, he DM'd me, and he
Mm.
was like, "Yo, I don't know who you are, but I'm gonna tell you, this is one of the top films I've seen in the last 30 years. You know,
Mm.
and I thought that was really nice of him because he's freaking JB Fox. But he
Right.
really took the time to encourage and to hold me up like that. And then when I we met in person, like he just went off and he was just very generous with his perspective and compliments. It's great. We don't live for that, and
Mhm.
that don't pay no bills.
Right.
Okay, so um, we keep it moving. You know, I'm glad we have some camaraderie,
Mhm.
and he's in my corner. That's great, but you know, I gotta still work and pound the pavement and doing something that I love to do and pushing
Mhm.
myself in ways that I want to see.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, in your words, what does it take to be a successful director in today's Hollywood?
Well, it takes all of this in varying degrees. Is it helps to know how to direct actors.
Mhm.
It helps to know how to direct a crew. It helps to know understand visual language. It helps to know where to put the camera and how to be organized, how to do things fast,
Mhm.
how to get along with people that are not like you, how to calm a storm when actors are having a hard day and you got to make your day. You know, you have to understand. You know, you have some element of psychology so that you can talk people through some rough patches.
Mhm.
Um, Practice the craft, um, and then meeting the right people, being lucky,
Yeah.
working hard, believing in yourself, playing
Mhm.
the long game. You know, all that comes into like I'm just looking back at I'm talking to myself, you know,
Right.
like all this kind of was in play as I was trying to forge a path as a working director. You know,
Mhm.
everybody and their mama can be a director, but like when you're working and you're making money doing it, then that's a different lane to be in, you know.
Mhm.
So it's really be serious about your craft and have something to say so that you can create with a perspective, but also you can listen, especially if you direct TV, because you're doing it in service to the showrunner. So you have to be able to listen to what they want and
Right.
implement it, you know?
Right. Now, is it difficult to get projects like Albany Road greenlit today,
Sure.
especially?
Took me 10 years. I shopped around for 10 years. Nobody picked it up. So
Wow.
instead of waiting around for nothing, my husband and I 100% financed this. And then as we look for distributors, after we won like five Best Feature Film Awards and nobody was seriously taking us on, we had to broker a deal with some distributors and put it out ourselves. So here we are.
Wow. 10 years. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Man, okay. And I'm glad you mentioned your husband because that's actually leading to my next question. Your husband is Michael Swanson, who's
Yes.
also a producer on many of your projects and helps bring your projects to life. Um,
Yes.
how do you work off of each other, and what do you each bring to the table that's unique to your
We
ability?
work very easily. Like people always are astonished by that. He's a producer who uses his, is it left brain? Like he's very pragmatic. He
Uh,
knows budget, diplomacy, uh, union rules.
okay,
That's his job.
that's
And
really
then I'm on the creative side. I know how to tell stories. I know how to engage uh, actors and crew. I know
mhm,
how to kind of wax poetic creatively to get and produce storytelling that people want to see. You
okay,
know. So
yeah,
no problem. We each have our own lane and
yeah.
we're
You
good at it. So
uh,
we kind of stay out of each other's way
right,
while we kind of come together with the goal of um, telling the story and making this movie. So
sure.
it's not as problematic as one would think.
Okay, yeah. No, I didn't think it was problematic. I was just curious to know, because your husband wife team and you're both
Right.
working on the same projects. How do you guys, um,
We complement each other. So
yes, perfect.
hmm
Yes. Now, as a teacher, having worked as a professor and
hmm
advisor, what do you find most rewarding about mentoring the next generation of filmmakers, and what key lessons do you aim to impart to them?
Well, I love it when they get things, when you explain stuff. Then I love it when they apply it and bring their own voices to the forefront. And now they're saying something new and interesting, and I had a part in that. That's great. I live for that, you know?
Mhm.
So I just love encouraging people to find your center, find your voice, and then let me hear what you have to say in a way that only you can say it. So that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah. Now, through your span, have you discovered anybody that you might not say it out loud to them, or to maybe in your head you're like, this person has something going for themselves. They just keep
Yeah, I've
going.
been lucky enough to work with a handful of people like that.
Wow.
But as talented as I think they are, it doesn't mean they've made any traction themselves in the industry. So it's always like, oh, I know somebody who'd be great for that. But
Hmm.
it's there are barriers to entry, and I don't know. Short of me being able to get everybody jobs, which when you're looking for your next job, is that's not my calling, you know. But when I can work with people on certain things, I love discovering new talent in front of the screen and behind the screen.
Okay. Okay. Even green actors that are just getting into the
Well,
business.
if you ever saw Clark Sisters, I hired non-actors who played the singers in
Wow.
Clark Sisters. So I've done it before. I
Right.
don't think I want to keep doing it. It's always better to work with trained actors, but
Right.
it's not something I'm afraid of.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. That's awesome. Um, Now, aside from from the professor and advisor aspect of it, do you have any advice that you would offer to aspiring filmmakers, especially women of color, aiming to make their mark in the industry that has historically lacked diversity?
Well, what do you mean by making your mark? Because I look at it like on my way to doing something that I love,
Hmm.
I kind of made some marks.
You have
Right. I
yes.
wasn't aiming to make marks though, you
True.
know? So maybe now I could be like, well, what would be my mark that I want to make? But I don't even feel like that. I look at it like every job I do, every movie I make, every TV episode I direct, I look at it as a divine assignment for me
Mhm.
to discover like what it is that I need to know that I didn't know, and an opportunity to deposit into other people
Right.
the creative light that I want to share with them. So I just
Mhm.
kind of look at it like that as opposed to I don't know about leaving marks, but just giving it my all and being excellent in the most creative way that I can contribute has led me down a path where, oh, I did that. I did this. I did that. I don't look to do that. I don't. It's just disingenuous, like as an artist, to create something to win an Oscar. Like
Right.
Oscar bait stuff. And I'm like, can we just tell a good story?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like, so my philosophy is I just want to deposit myself into a project.
Hmm.
And if I do it, not only to the best of my ability, because sometimes my ability falls short, but humbly approach it with an offering
Right.
and then leaving that offering at the altar.
Hmm.
And ultimately, what happens beyond that is not my business.
Right. It's not up to
It's
them.
not my business. It's
Right.
not my, we don't do this for that and that. We do this to lay the offering on the altar
Hmm.
and praise God and thank God for the ability to participate
Hmm.
and to offer something that I hope is of value to somebody else. What happens with that afterwards is just not my business because I've done my job.
Hmm.
So sometimes you get caught up in that. Like, oh, if the people didn't like it, if it didn't perform well, then it's a failure. I don't think so, but I understand the language behind that because you can't do what we do
Hmm.
and keep failing at it because it costs too much money.
Right.
You understand? So if you keep failing at directing, ain't nobody gonna give you a $5 million episode to fail because it's the stakes are too high. You know, if you want to
Hmm.
go ahead and make short films until you hone your craft, and then hopefully break in and have an opportunity to do stuff. You know, the breaking in is a whole nother conversation. So,
Right.
you just have to. I don't know what to tell people to do today to do what I do right now because what I did to do what I do was in a different time and era. And
Right.
I don't think those rules are applicable today.
No, but through everything that you just explained, even though it was, talking about it through you, I felt like you gave the perfect advice, and not to worry about the awards, the accolades, the praise. You don't do it for these things. You do it because this is what you want to do it for. When you give your all into a project and you give it up to the public, and at that point it's up to them. And you're creating it for the art. You're appreciating the art, and you're living within the art of making the project, and you're not seeking validation from the outside.
And you grow into that.
Hmm.
You don't start out like that because the stakes are so high. You're like, oh, if I don't perform well, then I won't get hired again. And so it's a
Right.
lot of that kind of psychological rambling that you have to manage so that you could just be open to do what you're made to do is how I look at it.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
I'm like, if I was a basketball player in my head, if I think I'm Michael Jordan,
Uh-huh.
I do this for the love of the game.
Yes.
Do you
Yes.
understand that? He did it for the love of the game, and he
Yes.
just happened to end up being Michael Jordan.
Right.
You understand? He was loving the game before he was ever famous playing it. So I feel like when you see people do things for the love of the game, it
Mhm.
shows up in the work and it
Yeah.
leaves like an indelible mark on you as if you've had an encounter or an experience. So it's like, how do we create the space within our own hearts and minds to allow us to just play,
Hmm.
and then next thing you playing a game of pickup. It's like you don't even know 2 3 hours gone by. Who's next? It's
Right.
like you're just doing it for the love of the game. And like that is the one takeaway that I feel consistently that I have always tried to get in the zone of. I want to
Mm-hmm.
be in that zone because it's just fun. It really is fun. And then I as a director, I want to make sure other people are having fun too. So I'm very collaborative and very engaging
Hmm.
so that I don't want to be the only one like making decisions and enjoying it. Because I got a crew of 100 people looking at me please enjoy what you do. Let's talk about it in a way so that you can feel a part of the process, so that we can build this together. I do that with my actors, I do that with my crew, I do that with all the heads of the department, so
Mhm.
that, I want people to feel good about what they're doing, and I want them to have fun in the game of pickup. So
Right.
that's the sweet spot right there. And we doing the work. Ain't nobody thinking about awards. I mean, it's ridiculous. But it's part of the silly game that's created in this industry that really is taking up too much air.
Yeah.
That being said, Lynn Whitfield deserves an Oscar for
Yes.
playing Paula,
Amen.
best supporting actress, best supporting actress. So I will do that all day for somebody else. But I'm not
She's
sitting
definitely,
around waiting around for myself. But like I
yes.
said, I can show you where the dust is on all the awards I've already collected.
Yeah, no, I understand, and I agree with you. Lynn Whitfield definitely deserves all of the accolades. She's been an amazing actress throughout her entire career. I'm surprised that she hasn't gotten as much praise
It's this role is transformative. So
mm,
you have to get the right roles to really
yes,
show you what you can do. And like n- this, what Lynn does in this role is her character and her characterization is really hitting a zeitgeist moment right now,
wow,
where this is the story that we needed for right now.
mm,
It's a right now movie. Given everything that we're dealing with in our
right,
country and the world, it's a right now movie.
wow. Well, I'm excited to watch it. I can't wait to see it in theaters this Friday. All
Yes.
AMC theaters across the country. Please go out and
Yes. It's select.
support.
It's in select AME theaters, and people
Okay.
should check at albanyroadmovie.com, at albanyroadmovie.com, to see what AMC theater it could be playing in your location, and on Fandango as well.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Yes, and Fandango. So,
Yes.
let me ask you one last question. What's next for you?
Well, I got a lot of games of pickup to play. So I
Okay.
look at it like that. So there's a lot of
Like
projects that I'm circling on
mhm,
the feature filmmaking side, and there's a lot of directing gigs that I'm circling on the TV side, and I love it all. So I want to schedule it all, and it's just a matter of what we can do given the
yeah.
window of time that we have. So I'm constantly putting things together for the near future.
Okay, well, I'm so excited to continue to watch everything that you do. I'm a fan. I'm grateful and appreciative of having your time and you being able to share some of your knowledge, sharing your journey with us, and also telling us a little bit about Albany Road. Um, and thank you so much for joining. That's really pretty much all I had for you.
Thank you.
Yes, congratulations on everything, and good luck tonight during the screening. I know
Thank
it's going
you.
to be amazing. Yes,
All right, I appreciate it, and I always enjoy talking about the game,
yes,
the
absolutely.
sport, and the love of it. So thank you for having me.
Without further ado, Christine Swanson, everybody.